before, we'll see a lot of familiar faces, which is kind of a neat thing. To see these young kids come back each year, and the excitement and the enjoyment on their faces is priceless. And an opportunity to meet Dave Clark here 3 years ago, and we got a very interesting story, and I'll let him share it with you for a little bit here before we get going. Without further ado, Dave Clark.
Thank you, Jay. Thanks, guys. I've been in your shoes. I always start by saying I've been in your shoes before, playing a Friday night game. I have to get up and get out here at the stadium, 10 o'clock in the morning or earlier. Not easy to do. Not easy to do. So I appreciate you coming out to help with this camp. What I will say is that even though you're dragging a little bit this morning and you're probably not really wanting to be out here this early, by the end of the day, you're going to be thankful and appreciative that you came out and took part in this thing. I know I see a lot of familiar faces here that were here last year, but for you guys that weren't here, you'll never forget this day. I guarantee it. Now, I'm going to tell you just a little bit about my story, but today is not about me at all, and it's not about you. It's about the people out here that are waiting for us to come out. That's what it's about today. Every one of us in this locker room should feel very appreciative for what we've been given, including myself. And I know you're sitting there going, "What's this little guy, this old guy up here, crutches and leg braces? What the hell's he got to do with baseball?" I had polio when I was 10 months old. I'm not going to tell you the year. That'd give my age away, because I'm 29 now. But I had polio when I was 10 months old. Was taken from my parents, put in a reconstruction home for a year. They told my parents I wasn't going to live at first. And they gave him an update, and they gave him a prognosis. He's going to live, but he's going to be a vegetable and never be able to move any muscle below the neck. Came out 11 months later from that home with little tiny crutches and leg braces, walking a little bit like Frankenstein. My parents never treated me any different than my other two brothers, and my brothers sure didn't treat me different than they treated each other. When I needed the crap kicked out of me, they kicked the crap out of me. When we got in fights, they didn't hold back, and it was the same back to them. I attribute that to the end of my story, and I'm not going to go into detail, but in my third grade at school, I had a phys ed teacher that changed the course of my life. Up until that point, the teachers were telling to the sideline after they got through telling the class what we were going to do that day. They said, "Dave, you go over here and sit." And there was always a chair over there, and I had to watch the activity going on. Third grade, I had a different gym teacher. First day of class in that room, he tells us what we're going to do. And then he claps his hands and said, "Okay, let's go." I instinctively started to the sideline. Wasn't a chair there. But I kept walking, and I heard this voice behind me go, "Where do you think you're going?" I turned around shaking, and it was the phys ed teacher. He told me, he said, "Look it." And I told him, "I'm going over here." He said, "Not in my class." He said, "There's a word can't, but not until the rope." The activity we were doing that day in the class was climbing the ropes to the ceiling. Man, I was shaking because I knew I was going to make a fool of myself. When I got there and I looked up, and there's no way in hell I'm going to get up there. I made it to the top. I was the only kid in class that day to get to the top of the rope. When I came down, I burned my hands. It was the best burn feel in the world. I got to the bottom, and the teacher gave me an ice cream bar. That sold me. That was my first professional payoff. I got an ice cream bar for making it to the top of the ropes. Next activity was softball. I found my niche. I had the hand-eye coordination. Couldn't run to first base very fast, but I had my hand-eye coordination. Going to make the story short. I played baseball up through the levels. Little League was next. I played baseball up through the levels. When I got to 16, I said to myself, "I think I can go farther. I want to try." Didn't know if I could, but I wanted to try. Ended up pitching 10 years of professional and semi-professional baseball. ended up my career in Sweden playing in the Swedish Elite League over there before I blew my elbow out, had to have surgery by Dr. James Andrews. That ended that part of my career. I went into coaching, managing, scouting. Still do some part-time coaching today. In 1988, I got hit with what's called post-polio, which is why I'm in this today. Post-polio to me was a lot more devastating than polio. It's a rapid atrophying of your muscles. You try to conserve what you got left. That's what I'm doing today. I still coach part-time. I'm not able to do that full-time anymore. I'm leaving for Sweden in 2 weeks. I'll be going over there and coaching 2 different teams in their Swedish Elite League. One thing I want to leave you guys with is you've all got an opportunity of a lifetime. Every one of you got an opportunity. If you don't give it all you got nobody to blame but yourself. My motto has been, give it all you got, because there's no dream that's impossible. You're going to have rough days. By the way, I topped out at 79. For you pitchers in here, you know that it's not very fast. Do a knuckleball. The knuckleball was my ticket. But let me tell you, on days when the knuckleball wasn't working, they were puttises on the flights that were hit off. They were long-distance flights. But the knuckleball kept me in the game. I figured out a way to be able to still compete in the game without having a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. That's what you guys got to do. Nobody's going to help you out. There's no excuses for anybody in this room for failure. There's no excuse. You guys have the opportunity, seize it. Seize the moment, go with it. All I'm going to tell you. Now I want to switch gears a little bit, because these people are waiting out here for us. When we get out here, first inclination is to kind of lay back. It's a little intimidating, but by the time 10 minutes goes by, you're going to be gravitating right to these people, and you're going to be in there, and they're looking up to you guys. You are their heroes. Make it a day for them that they'll never forget, because they're going to do that for you. They're going to make it a day that you'll never forget. I'm going to cut it right there. I'll be out there on the field with you. If you guys got any questions for me, feel free to come up to me during the camp or whatever after the camp. Best of luck to you guys the rest of the way. But remember, give it all you got. You've got no excuses. Give it all you got. No dream is ever impossible. You got 2 good arms, 2 good legs. I had 2 good arms. If I made it, you could make it. Thank you, guys. Oh, one last thing. Just a reminder that we haven't had a lot of success in the games at night after the disability camp. If you guys were here last year, you know what I'm talking about. Let's change that tonight, huh? Let's pick that up tonight. Let's reverse that a little bit tonight. If I recall, last year I think there was a 20-spot throwdown.
That's enough. You can blow
Steve, that's enough said. So let's get out of here. Let's do it. Let's do the camp. Get some rest. Come back and let's win the game tonight, huh? Thanks, guys.